Hello, welcome to your reading. My eyes are red because I was told by my brother that I have red eyes. And I just put eye drops in, even though my eyes weren't even that red before. But whatever. And I have to like FaceTime them. But like I'm on such a roll with readings right now that, I just got to keep going. You know what I'm saying? So thank you for your patience. I think, what's this the saying about the patient one something the patient one receives the great. I always butcher quotes. To the patient one comes the great reward, or someone could have said it better. The fruitfulness. So Miss Anne. Miss Anne. Now, Miss Anne, must make sure, Miss Anne, to hide your last name, your sacred last name, because I do not want anyone to know anything about you. So yeah, basically, I don't know anything about you. Speaking of knowing nothing about you, 1 second. Also, just so you know, I have Swedish chewing tobacco in right now. Sometimes I'm not addicted, any of that. Not that matters, but I am very weird, and I'll just I was at the mall the other day. I was like, I'm just gonna take some of this, probably do it for a few weeks, and stop. Somehow, I can do tobacco products. I hate smoking. I smoke when I drink, which is very, very rarely. But yeah, I can just I just quit. So it's I hope it's not triggering or gross. It's not that gross. I mean, they're kind of sexy. I mean, look, compared to you're from Australia. Okay, damn. So yeah, what's up. These it's like citrus. Citrus flavor, right? It ain't no American the gross chaw. It's okay. So, anyways, let's dive in. Let's share the screen. Show you your chart. So here we are. Obviously we got the sun in Libra in the 6th. Moon is over there in Leo. I just had a Leo moon. Conjunct the IC. Square Pluto. Geez, I literally just had a reading. This is what happens. And I say this in so many of my readings, like if there's anyone that watches all my readings, you'll notice that I always have these back-to-backs where it's like I literally just said a lot about Moon and Leo square Pluto, and now I have another one. Very interesting. Nothing surprises me at this point. But yeah, so overall, Libra sun, what's that like with or Libra sun and Leo? I mean, you have a exact sextile between the two. So you see it's 12 and 12. So that's a very, very, very good combination. If your sun and your moon, if you think about yourself as like a boat on the ocean with two captains representing, one's your sun, one's your moon, right? Your feminine, your masculine. They both are headed the same direction. So one of the better aspects you can have in all astrology. And then you have your Mars in Aries in the 12th, squaring Uranus and Neptune and Chiron. And Sun in Libra square Neptune. Okay, so we got a T-square going on here between this Sun, Neptune, and it's a loose T-square, but it still counts, and shoots out in this right on your Chiron. So it's whatever it's called. I'm not good with aspect patterns. I mean, I understand I just with the names of them, but basically it's like square, square, square. It's like is it called a grand square? I don't know. I'm gonna call it a grand square. Anyways, let's show my face. And yeah. So basically, let me zoom out my camera a little bit, put my thing a little bit further. There you go, perfect. Basically, and you have a 0-degree Venus in Virgo, South Node of Virgo. Like literally, the client just had this. Like I need to like, you guys do have different charts, but they're so similar. Holy shit! And she had 12th house Venus, she had 12th house Mars. Okay, hair all over my face. Hug Fetigs, like big boy over there. Little Fetigs Kim. Fetigs. Your son's in the 6th house, the house of pets. So I can only imagine that you are a pet person. And you benefit a lot from them. But yeah, okay. So anyways, as I was saying, aside from that, Pluto is in the 7th, close to the descendant. Okay, gotcha. Venus square. Okay, so that's not a bad square with Jupiter. Some nice aspects to Venus. Mercury's unaspected. Interesting. So that typically makes someone like to talk a lot. I just had an unaspected Venus, unaspected Mercury follow up the other day, and that was confirmed. It's been confirmed multiple times. But we have to look at it in the context of the whole chart. So, and then Pisces, of course, is your North Node, South Node in Virgo, like I said, just exactly the same as my last client. So, yeah, this is like a repeat, a lot of a repeat of what I just said. Of course, it's very different too. And Ascendant in Taurus. So, and a Venus ruled chart with Venus in Virgo. Okay, so Libra Sun, I don't really get into sun signs here, and you have your Mercury retrograde, so that's actually going to that's going to really push that. That's going to make it so that whole thing I said about the unaspect of Mercury, it's more inward, so you're not going to actually be this big talker. If it was direct, you would be someone that just talked a bunch, but there's probably like a lot of internal dialogue. We'll talk more about that later. So, basically, there's a square, elemental square between ascendant and moon. So, Leo moons, it's all about authentic self-expression, right? It's all about like, when they're young and with the square Pluto, so it's probably very similar to my last client. They have like this really great need of attention, right? They want to be seen by the parents. And your Chiron's in the 3rd house, so there could be some issues with siblings. Who knows? But there's this great need for a very high level of attention and praise. Now, with the Pluto square, it can create a situation where your needs weren't met when you were young, right? And maybe you had like a overly domineering mom. It's usually the mom. Who's like very, very involved in your life. I must say that the sextile between sun and moon, that typically indicates like a strong connection between mother and father, like at least their relationship. But definitely, and let's see if there's the nodes or any squares. No, some issues that can come up around control, and like with the mother stuff, right? So with this square, I consider it like the most difficult aspect in astrology with the opposition. I put out like my worst placement series. I'm sure you saw some of those, and I got a little bit of pushback where people are like, no, I think the opposition is more difficult than the square. Well, they're different. Opposition, moon here, Pluto here, square, moon here, Pluto here. And also, I wrote a note to look into your email you sent me. So, okay. Got you. Okay, you've been saying astrology. That's good to know. So learning to hear. Okay, got you. So, I'll keep this up. Okay, I see where you're coming from. So, and also I want to just like triple check the birth time. Well, I guess I already double checked it with you anyways in the Instagram. So yeah. But overall, wait, this is actually 1 second. I wanna take a look at some. The heck, how is it still uploading my thing? Okay, whatever. I guess I can't look. But yeah, we're gonna assume that I double checked, birth time's correct, all that stuff. So, yeah, basically, like big emotional needs needed. Like, childhood also, like, your moon conjunct the IC, it's gonna, give someone like a very like your childhood plays like a very large role in your life. Like you can be like someone who who looks back on that, or who has some level of like attachment to the childhood, emotional attachment to childhood. And that may sound obvious, but like someone like me, I don't have much attachment to my childhood. I mean, I never think about it, right? So also moon in the fourth, it can make someone like change residence a lot. And I noticed on the email it said you're in London and you're from Australia, so that's that. So yeah, there can be, like constant changes in like domestic life. Also, a lot of people like with this, like they want to live like close to the water, like fourth house moon helps them kind of process emotions, cleanse themselves, whatever, get in touch with their emotions, all that. Now, the fact that so obviously the Libra, I'm not going to talk about it because you know about it. The whole thing of people pleasing, boundaries, all that. Relationship oriented person is a Libra. That's that. Now, you want to know about relationships, past lives. So basically, when we speak about kind of the fact that, someone's a Libra, they are very, Libras are relationship oriented people. They want to have that peaceful relationship, that harmoniousness, that balance, right? Within themselves and within other. That's what they want. And it's square. The fact that it's square Neptune can create an energy where you're definitely like a major empath, right? Because Neptune's connected to your sun. Our last client had the conjunction with her sun, and like it can create like somewhat of a paranoia in the sense of paranoia, like especially with retrograde Mercury, where you can be like someone who's like overthinking things a lot. But with the sun and Neptune, there's like lots of battles that have to be overcome in order to like find that sense of self, that self-esteem. It makes someone very sensitive, caring, all that. But yeah, like it's like this lifelong battle, and this is usually from the father, right? Because the son's a father, related to like self-esteem and confidence. So these two aspects, the moon square Pluto which, you know, gives like very turbulent up and down emotions. I'm sure you've read about it and stuff like that. And yeah, it really makes someone kind of go up and down, and it's very hard to control. And because it's a square, like the squares are internal battles. It's something you're fighting within yourself. So these are two initiatory like aspects into like healing, right? Into healing yourself. And with this, you tend to like be forced to like with both of these to work with your kind of weak spots at a young age, right? And a lot of times people who have Sun square Neptune, they can have some level of like insecurity and really fail to see themselves objectively. So with anything Neptune, I always say this, excuse my spitting, working with like anything like a mirror, camera, like you like literally like Neptune rules those two things, like filming yourself, doing videos, you don't have to show them to anyone, right? Like where you just talk about your feelings, or like speaking, like doing affirmations in the mirror. That's like a really, really great way. But what can happen with this is that you can carry like other people's guilt, especially when young. And yeah, it can be very, very, very difficult. And there's definitely like trust issues that come up with this, right? And sometimes like when younger, like there can be like bullying that can happen, people like trying to deceive you, whether it's romantic partners or just people in general. And sometimes it gives people the impression that the person with the Sun square Neptune is like up to no good, like they're guilty of something, because they're carrying this guilt. But usually, because it's associated with the Sun, it's like maybe you're carrying like you're carrying lots of energy. So like a lot of my clients that come to me, and I see in their charts, and I get the sense that like they're the ones who are meant to like break this like generational curse in their family. Like they're the chosen ones, right? Like 144,000 light workers type stuff, right? There's got to be someone who does it. So yeah, it's very, very important. And what can happen is that there can be like I said, paranoia, false accusations. It can kind of make one have like issues with discrimination, right? Not that kind of discrimination, like discriminating like people, and like who's the right one, who's the wrong one. So that can have tons of romantic implications. And it's all about confidence, like everything, you know. It's all about finding that confidence in finding a way to see yourself in a clearer way, right? Because you'll be very like, and one thing with Neptune is service, right? Like selfless service to humanity is the best way to get to kind of see yourself more clearly, and to feel that oneness, right? Because like I said, you had what? It was North Node and Pisces, just like my last client, right? No, yeah. So like in past lives, definitely a tendency to kind of be kind of like in the material world, kind of not so much into spirituality. Maybe there's like an overriding like worldview or conditioning that misled you, and you know, they're like over criticism of yourself, that kind of thing. And that projects outwardly, right? So, and I saw something else in your chart too, what was it? It was Venus in Virgo at 0 degrees. You know, 0 degrees critical point. I mean, obviously, like Venus and Virgo in the 5th house, like it's very, very good for creativity, but you might be very, very critical of your own creativity. And like Venus and Virgo people, sometimes until they've like learned to master, to find that self-compassion for themselves, and to why is this still posting? Like, because like it's all about self-love, right? I'm just saying on my Instagram. Like everything is about self-love, right? Venus, people get the idea that it isn't, but it is. And not shared right away. So until the person with this, you know, kind of these kind of placements can see themselves clearly and truly get past this, like, there can be like an obsession for like being perfect, right? Which can be very karmic based on your South Node conjunct Black Moon Lilith, right? Which totally makes complete sense. Once it's like getting past perfectionism, right? Like when you have yourself at the standard and anything below that is a failure, then when you get into romantic relationships, you're gonna project that on the other person, and you're gonna kind of like Venus Virgos are infamous for having like this like expecting perfection in their partners, right? Like wanting like the precise, punctual, like everything is good, like kind of Disney movie kind of fantasy, right? Now, with the South Node there, conjunct Black Moon Lilith, you know, that tells me that in past lives, you know, you were kind of take the chewing tobacco out. You know, like there's definitely that self-criticism. Oh, my camera went away. Jesus. Oh my God, my camera keeps doing this thing. Stop, camera. Really? One second. It's like my charger's breaking. I was like, what's going on with technology? Okay, now it should work. Okay. So yeah, basically like yeah, it's all about like understanding that, like, okay, and I always get like this kind of like analogy. If you rate your day each day on a scale of 0 to 100, some days you'll get 90, some days you'll get 30, some days you'll get 40, right? And I'll show the chart because you're a student of astrology, so I always go back and forth between my face and the chart. So I'm looking at, you know, this part, right? This fifth house. So what can happen is that there can be such a perfectionist streak that it holds you back, right? It holds you back in a way where you're unable, like karmically, to move towards your North Node in Pisces, which North Node in Pisces, it's like it's a very, very clear indication that like the cosmos are being like, okay, in this life you're supposed to get more spiritual, you're supposed to like move more towards, you know, oneness, which obviously you getting a reading with me would be an indication that you're, you know, on that path in some way. But still, like you know, self-compassion is very, very difficult, and overcoming perfectionism is very, very difficult. They're not easy paths, or else people would just be able to do it easily. And like I have tons of clients that come to me at different, you know, levels of spiritual. I don't like quantify spiritual like growth or you know where one's at, because it's kind of, you know, it's just a weird thing to do. I don't know. But the thing I'm saying is that you know, even for the most capable and if you want to say high up people, it can be difficult, right? It can be difficult to have that compassion for yourself and to not just criticize yourself for like trivial things a lot of times, right? So that's step one with relationships, is like overcoming anything like that, and to learn to like love yourself for all your faults. I know that sounds like a cheesy like whatever thing, but it's literally like it's showing up, right? Because Black Moon Lilith is like your shadow, right? It represents kind of like as you know, or the way I look at Black Moon Lilith at least, is like it's kind of like you at your lowest vibe, right? You at your like the part like you like when you're not killing it. I don't know how else to say it. Like for example, like I have mine in Scorpio, and when I'm like, you know, like in my lowest vibe, you know, that scorpionic, really, really harsh side, it's very rare, but it comes out, right? The kind of lower energies of Scorpio, which yeah, maybe not like the lowest of like manipulating and stuff like that, but like, you know, using like emotional intelligence. And I'm not going to get too far into myself, but like, you know, it happens to everyone. You know, we all have off days, and that's kind of what Black Moon Lilith talks about, right? Like how are you during those off days? Like what's your energy like? Like what are you like? What would you tend to do? And for you, there like with the Virgo, it could be like this explosion, right? This just like self-imploding kind of like energy where, you know, you in your head you might see yourself as like way less than you are, right? But even with all that said, right? So that's like step one, you know, because everything within gets projected, right? In relationships. Once that's overcome, you know, then there's the whole thing with Virgo Venus is like, okay, well, what kind of partner is it? Someone with the Virgo Venus, and then, you know, Moon and Leo. Well, okay, so Moon and Leo, Moon square Pluto, obviously that's like a very karmic aspect with the mother. There could be like a karmic cycle between you two. One's the mother, one's the daughter, you know, back and forth type of thing. I'm not saying that's the case for sure, and I don't see any nodal squares or anything like that, or any the nodes involved, like to really indicate that. But still, like, you know, it really does create someone who has like lots of emotional intensity, and it's their initiation into their own personal shadow work. So like to the level that you've done that, and like I'm talking about the real work, like the stuff that no one sees behind closed doors. Like, yeah, you could do it with the help of a counselor like myself, you know, because I shamelessly promote all my not all, but like I like to like kind of, when it's applicable, tell people that I'm not just doing birth charts. I do a ton of things. I have 2 masters in psychology. I do astrological counseling, and I help people through, and I also teach astrology at all levels, whether it's like 101 or, you know, just trying to like tie in the loose ends. You know, like a lot of people come to me who just like don't understand aspects, you know, and I'm like, aspects are like the most important one, you know, like that's like what makes each chart unique. And you know, like without understanding aspects, you can't really fully do a chart reading, because like in your case, like what have I been talking about for the most of this reading so far? Aspects, right? So in your case, like, you know, there's more that I haven't even spoken about, but like, you know, the ones to the sun and moon, really important. So that's kind of one point, right? Is learning that no person is perfect. And let's go back to me. No person is perfect, and to expect that, it's just going to lead you down a bad road, because you know you're going to think already with the Neptune energy, you might like see someone and think like you know, there might be like a skewed judgment around that individual. Now in your chart, you lack water, right? You have no water in terms of your inner planets. You have fire with your strong Aries Mars in the 12th. Well, 12th will weaken it, but still. You know, your Leo moon is also fire. Your Taurus rising is earth. And, you know, obviously your Libra Mercury and sun is air. Lacking water can be, yeah, lacking like sometimes emotional intelligence at times, not all the time. Lacking intuition, just that you know, that ability to kind of tap in and kind of like use your intuition to kind of understand what's going on. With that said, I'm not saying you're not an intuitive person. I mean, you have a lot of planets in the 4th, 8th, and 12th house, so that kind of helps you a lot in those areas if they're channeled correctly. Like Moon, the 4th house, yeah. If it's channeled correctly, it can be very, very intuitive. Now, with that said, I think a lot of these powers, especially with Neptune, it's kind of your saving grace, right? But because like Neptune is water, it's ruling Pisces, but it's all about getting past that, you know, difficult square, right? And I was talking about that earlier. I kind of go back around. It's all about like putting everything together in a cosmic puzzle-like manner. I should call myself the cosmic puzzle solver, which is too long. Maybe I'll write that in my bio. I always get ideas when I do readings. I might not stick to that. I might like think about that in an hour and be like, that was really stupid. But yeah, like with the sun in Neptune, it's like all about you know, removing self-doubt, improving inner strength. You know, like there can be also like these like neurosis, or not neurosis, like kind of like neurotic kind of thoughts and behaviors, like with the Virgo Black Lilith and all that energy. So OCD kind of stuff. So just like, and I'm not saying that like in the you know, in the sense of like an actual like like in terms of like psychopathology. I'm just saying like just like from like a, you know, just that energy metaphorically kind of. So becoming involved in like any kind of social or charitable cause is very, very good for you know, confronting any fears, phobias you might have. And it really, really helps. Like literally, like, you know, about like 12, like when people have a loaded 12th house, it's like they're either going to go in this like endless cycle, or they're going to, you know, like be of service and let their ego down. And then like all that stuff kind of just becomes powerful. They become like very powerful because, and that's what your chart's kind of saying, right? With the North Node in Pisces, it's like you're trying to move towards understanding that oneness and really not just understanding it. Virgo can understand it. Pisces feels it and lives it. And that's what you're trying to get to. So I already talked about the things with mirrors and cameras. What else can I say? It's really, really good for creativity also. Yeah, that's another thing. You know, like music, whatever it is, poetry, anything. So like channeling everything, especially with a Leo moon, which gives you an emotional need for authentic self-expression, which is like, I always say, like, it's not about the views. It's like creating for the sake of creating, right? Like I have a friend with a Leo moon who's making music, and he just absolutely, like, he's not really getting, like, he's been doing it for, I don't know, like 2 years now or something like that. A few, maybe more than that, but like, he's not like blowing up in any way, but like he still loves what he's doing. I was telling him the other day, I was like, dude, just like keep, like, the fact that you love it, eventually spirit's gonna kind of, you know, you know, first of all, you're getting so much out of it just from yourself, like spiritually, you're like, it's giving you so much growth, but also like, you know, eventually, you know, spirit will see, and you just have to like use manifestation, which I always say with manifestation, my main technique is getting as deep as I can in meditation. And that this will also help with, like, because you have this earth element, this will also help with your, you know, like the third eye and with the psychic intuitive energy, and just sitting with yourself and getting into your heart chakra and praying, like, please, can, like, you know, guides, God, whoever, can you give me, or can I manifest, can this thing or person or whatever come to me? And this is why I'm saying it, for my soul benefit, not for the benefit of my ego, right? But yeah, regardless of what the aspect is, like Sun and Neptune makes someone very interested in all things spiritual. But you have to watch out for not like kind of dipping into like the wrong type of like spiritual people, because there can definitely be this deception that can come, right? And you can be subject to like betrayal, also victimization. Like these are all things that come, you know, with this. But it really is like in its highest degree, high creativity, high, like giving you this intuition, and also like really wanting to like fight for the, you know, the less fortunate and stuff like that. So okay, then we add, so it's here. Sun's also, you know, conjunct Chiron, which, you know, is in Cancer. So there's a surprise. Cancer, you know, ruling like the nurturing. That there's definitely like, you know, some like pain, right? And you know, a lot of people with Chiron, you know, aspecting their moon, their sun, they're meant to be healers, right? So they're meant to go through some type of pain. In Cancer in third house, it could be with siblings. It could be with something related. I would imagine it'd be something related to like your thinking, your communication, maybe even your view of your own intelligence when you're younger. Just because of the Mercury retrograde, it tends to give like a very different learning style. So, but also, yeah, like Chiron in Cancer, you know, Cancer being the early. I had this weird tick in my throat. early family life, early nurturing, that has to be confronted for you to maximize your full like potential, right? Like in career and in all areas. Now, so yeah. Also, you could have been a witch in a past life. Whenever I see Black Moon Love of the South, and I always just think that. I always just throw that in there. Take that for what you want. Then aside from that, you know, when it comes to relationships, right? I haven't even talked about your ascendant, so we should probably talk about that first. Let's see one other thing. Yeah, so okay, ascendant in Taurus. I mean, obviously, like Venus ruled chart, so Venus at 0 degrees is also gonna can make one more gullible to you know, kind of gullible energy and love, a little bit naive. And because 0 degrees is a critical degree, so yeah, it can kind of like, I mean, there's definitely like a sense of curiosity and desire, and newness to that energy, right? Like new karma as it relates to love. So like lots of like, it's kind of like the Fool in tarot. I don't know that much about tarot, but that's the one I know, right? So like with this, it's like about like kind of restarting karmically again in terms of relationships, right? And like it's like about like exploring like newer forms of relationships, newer streams of how relationships can work, not just romantic, but like that's kind of what Venus is referring to in a lot of ways. Like for example, like maybe like in past lives you were like in societies where like arranged marriages or something like that were very prevalent. In this one, it might be like very different, right? So it's something like that, right? Where it's brand new. It could also, you know, Venus refers to like the finer things in life, so it could also relate to like having like a large difference between like maybe like past life tendency of being like very, very rich and having all these things, and in this life the opposite, or maybe it's the opposite, you know, where very, very poor, and then right now in very, very good position, very, very good position. So yeah, new beginnings in all those areas. But yeah, it can create like kind of a naive energy where you're just trying lots of things. And of course, with age, it gets easier. Now, the Pluto or the Taurus rising, you know, it just makes you, you know, obviously I don't really need to tell you about your ascendant. If you study astrology, it's that part of you that you know, makes you grounded. It's very attractive. Very like it makes you very approachable and kind of steady. And you know, the highest energy of Taurus is heaven on earth. So it's like being able to find that energy within yourself. You know, it's based on, it's very, very practical, right? So it's like sometimes Taurus rising people can have issues with taking risks, and they can like kind of stay put in one place and have trouble like letting go of certain people that no longer serve them. So there's a big need for that, to kind of like take those risks in life. But yeah, like with the whole thing with the Mercury, it's like it's definitely, you know, probably something where you had like a very different style of learning, and maybe like the traditional educational system like didn't work for you, which then maybe you know, led to some issues. But then you do have one of the best stars in the sky, Spica, conjunct your Mercury. And if I'm not mistaken, Spica and Mercury, 1 second. Hold on. More of this German Fritz Cola. I didn't open it like that. It was already open. Obviously. I just choked on it. So yeah, like Mercury, in Spica, it creates someone who it's really, really good. Very good for responsibility. It says neat, tidy, clever, ingenious, favor of clergy. That's why it's like very old. And people in authority, gain through investment, responsible position. And I don't think Mercury is trine Uranus. It's it. Where your chart go? No, but it is sextile, which is good enough. Wait, hold on. Okay, no, so it doesn't work. So yeah, like some very, very smart people say what you want about Putin. His Mercury is exactly on Spica. Margaret Thatcher. These are like the two examples that the site gives me. So yeah, it's very, very good for mine. It's one of the brightest stars in the sky. So it's gonna make you could be like kind of like a hidden genius, like where you're like it's a kind of like difficult to see, and that it would have required like a different type of like a different type of learning, right? Maybe more artistic, more right brained. So that's that. So let me clear all these stars. Okay, so remove fixed stars. So with love, as we've kind of been moving towards, the Mercury can definitely kind of make one like really like Mercury and Libra, like really, really focused on relationships, but it can make one, like with the retrograde, more shy, like where there's more like an inward communication. But I'm curious, I know you didn't book a follow-up, like just so you know, most people, I'd be willing to give you the follow-up for 90 USD as opposed to 150. Most people do that, and then they also do the current astrology reading. So just remind me that I gave you that price. But I would be very curious to kind of like, because in that session, we basically go over everything I've said and compare it to your lived experience, right? Like, I'm sure you saw on my site that I had like this reading that you got, and the second one was, I should change them. I should have them in a different order because most people should, like end up doing like the follow-up, regardless of whether they just only got this one first. Although some people, when they have like advanced knowledge of their own chart, this is like all they need. But most people want to talk to me live after the reading. Yeah, I'd be very curious of like how that whole shyness thing works out. But like, yeah, Venus or Mercury, or excuse me, yeah, Mercury in Libra. My camera again. I swear, I need like everything's breaking down. But please, sweet computer, do not break down. Which makes me think that I should definitely like back up a lot of like very important information on my computer. Anyways, so yeah, that is one thing where you might be like someone who ruminates a lot about relationships. Venus, Virgo, also can like Venus, like Virgo, like it can create kind of like anxiety around relationships. And with Pluto, most importantly, in the 7th house on the descendant, or 10 degrees in the descendant, that means that relationships are, I don't want to say the battleground, but it's the area where you meet your shadow, right? So everything related to your mom, or the early nurturing, usually the moon is the mom. Sometimes I find out from clients more that it's like the early nurturing overall. That shadow comes out in relationships, and it's about confronting that and learning about that. That really brings the healing, because that's like obviously a massive one, right? Like very like compulsive, emotional patterns, like it can be like self-destructive, and it's basically like emotional crises like tend to happen like a good amount until like a certain evolutionary point is reached, And that's like kind of like I said, the initiation to like learning about yourself through astrology or psychology or any kind of deeper awareness, right? But yeah, it definitely it kind of makes it so your emotional reactions come from a very hidden place. And with your Mars and Aries, the self-control can be very difficult. So with the Mars and Aries in the 12th house, that's the ultimate like self-sabotage energy, right? Because Mars and Aries is like very like Mars and Aries, every single person, super high sex drive. I tell all of them, you need to work out. You need to sweat it out. You need to have something you're doing where you're sweating, where you're getting this like this Aries energy out. As you know, Mars and Aries is like the volcano of volcanoes. The only thing to make them more volcanic is a square or opposition with Pluto and Uranus, right? In the 12th house, it's just like, you know, you can self-sabotage, you know, you can do things that like, you're like, what, you know, that you're just like, why the fuck did I do that? So yeah, like a lot of the you know, these close relationships, these romantic ones is where the emotional crises can occur. So yeah, it's like you have to go through like kind of that Plutonian journey to the underworld, and a lot in the 7th house, that's done, you know, through partnerships, right? So it's like, what kind of partner, you know, does one need when you know that there's going to be like some level of turmoil. Of course, you're approaching the Pluto square Pluto, which will be very important. What age is that? 38 or something, or 36? It's different from people. I think it's like 36 to 42. Either way, that's more in the realm of like the current astrology reading, and it's not happening like this year or anything. But yeah, like essentially that's where it comes up. And then also, you know, with you know, Saturn, Uranus in the 8th, you know, Saturn in the 8th can kind of, camera, that's good. Saturn in the 8th can kind of inhibit sexuality in a sense. It can inhibit intimacy where you might feel overwhelmed by it. And it's another one of these initiatory, there's a lot of them in your chart, right? Because it's your chart's pushing you towards Pisces. It's like trying to get you to get more spiritual. So like, this is why you have all the aspects you have, right? But yeah, like it's difficult because you know, even like you probably, I don't know if you were in spirituality and all these things like at a young age, but Saturn 8th house a lot of times also, it's very good for like prolonging life and like living like a long life, but it can make it so like, yeah, like you might kind of have like these fears, these phobias is more like 12th house, but yeah, there can be like fears of like really like exploring like the kind of darker sides of life, you know, like life after death. Where do we come from? Where are we? What's the purpose? All these kinds of things, right? But like overall, it's not that bad of a placement. And there's not like any difficult aspects. So it definitely can kind of make one more serious about like 8th house matters, which is like, you know, sex, the shadow work, anything that's hidden, you know, death, rebirth, transformation, all the Scorpio stuff, right? So yeah, someone can have like more of a serious approach to relationships. And it'll make you very, so this is actually adding to the Virgo energy. It'll make you very selective about your partner, right? And typically have a very cautious approach about, you know, who you know, bring into your life in an intimate way. And also you should follow the transits, because like during Saturn transits, it can like really block like 8th house, like sex, really, like in that deep intimacy. But yeah, like when it's not blocked, it can actually like not have that effect and bring a lot, be very good for sex. And when you have the Mars and Aries, you know, that's very sexual. So you have to watch out for like everything related to like working with like loans, banks, and other people's money. That's very important. Like, so like definitely don't get in debt for sure. And like I said, very good for like living a long life. And what happens though when you live a long life is that you tend to have to like learn a lot about death, because you withstand a lot of deaths from other people, right? So that's it's an area that like I wrote about it in my book, Pisces Live 9 Lives, available on Amazon. Like how overcoming the fear of death. I'm an 8th house sun and Mercury. That was like the biggest thing for me. I had like a lot of issues, big issues before, right? So, and sometimes people with Saturn 8th, like during the Saturn return, they might lose someone important to them. So yeah, it's all about like learning how to let go, right? Learning how to let go, and once again, that is a direct correlation with the Pisces, North Node, right? So it's really good, to just accept changes in life. Everything's always changing, which can be difficult for a Taurus rising, right? And just surrendering in your relationships, right? Like some people with this can like be very obsessed with finances, especially with the South Node in Virgo. So like being a little bit less serious about these matters can really be good, and having like a sense of humor about them. Also breaking sexual taboos. That's like a really, really good thing to like get past that. It's like kind of experiment, and let go in that area of life. I'm not saying like go and like like be promiscuous. I'm just saying like that's kind of like the energy of that there, right? And I have a feeling I was gonna say I have a feeling you're in a relationship. And I remember your email, which you're asking about love life. So I was like, okay, probably not. But like, yeah, Libras tend to like be very relationship oriented. That's kind of like what I was thinking. Now Uranus there is very good, and that's very, very psychic, and that can give you like downloads. It can actually make it so like you can be very like a lot less, like Taurus rising definitely cares about money, cares about materiality, but the 8th house Taurus, or excuse me, Uranus can make you like less attached to those like material things once you kind of move towards the North Node. So yeah, I don't think there's anything too difficult. Oh yeah, it's square Mars. So yeah, that's a tough one. Uranus square Mars is another super volcanic aspect. I'm sure you saw it you may have seen it in one of my posts, but like, yeah, that's another one where you have to work out. Because like, yeah, like, and especially right now with what's happening like in the sky right now with Uranus, Mars, and North Node conjuncting, like this is a super karmic time for you. So there's a real purpose that like you're getting your reading at this time. It's the 31st, so it's like literally you'll have the reading the day of it, which is pretty crazy. Besides that, what else can I say about 8th house, Uranus? It's like, yeah, so sex, like tantra, like these advanced types of sex can be very, very good. Uranus is very rebellious, so it can make someone like want to like seek freedom through sexuality. So once again, the whole breaking taboo thing. But you really have to watch out for like, because it is ill aspected. Watch out for like overspending. Watch out for like banks, like debt for sure. Like just really, really watch out for that. But it's very magical. It gives like special occult abilities. And this is actually very good for your intuition. But you have to like be able to be balanced, and then you can get these like lightning fast like downloads that you're like, where did that come from? How do I know that? And it's like Uranus 8th house can be like very clairvoyant, like see the future, download cosmic information. So yeah, very, very like interested in like researching anything occult, esoteric, about reincarnation, what happens like after we leave our physical body, all that kind of stuff. And a lot of times people in the eighth house have like a real like dislike for like the financial system and stuff like that. And so yeah, it's a good placement. It opens the doors to the infinite. Because Uranus likes to be in houses that are completely free, and the eighth house and 12th house are completely free. So yeah, it's very, very good for that. So aside from that, that square of Mars and Uranus, of course, we have to talk about that. I see that a good amount, and it's a very rebellious energy, but it makes you like kind of like want to. It gives you like this very like volcanic like abundant energy, very inventive energy, very like very genius energy, yeah. That can be dangerous. So it goes back to like this whole thing was you have to be very careful with like risks, especially in these days with what's happening astrologically. You could stay away from like anything like electronic or anything that could explode. Like just chill. But like yeah, it basically makes someone who's like not shy about like breaking tradition. So they can come across as like the troublemaker. They can kind of like piss the more conservative types of people off, be more controversial, right? Now in relationships, it's gonna give someone like this, very rebellious streak. So if there's any level of like, so this is the split that like hopefully if you book a follow-up, we can talk about. Like the Leo moon, it definitely wants things to be a certain way. It needs a lot of attention, and with the Pluto there, it can make like the relationships feel like the battleground, where you meet your shadow. But this one, it's like very freedom seeking. So it's like, where do you find the balance between the two, right? One second, I sent my brother a text. Hold on. So yeah, so it's all about like it's almost like you're a Ferrari. It's like how do you kind of like learn to control that, right? Also it goes with like the area, like with the Mars and Aries, there can be lots of acting out and anger that just comes from nowhere, right? So it's another one of these like these aspects that's like really pushing you into spirituality and learning to ground yourself and really leaning into your ascendant, right? That Taurus rising, getting into nature, touching the earth, stuff like that. Also like taking baths or being close to the ocean or the water is very, very good for you. I've said that that's the second time I've said that. It's very true that can really, really help soothe you. So the best way like to contain like this very electric energy is through a creative outlet, which once again, Moon and Leo, a need for what, not only a need for like the inner child. And again, another one of my Swedish things. But like, it gives a need for that authentic self-expression, but also for the I was going in wrong order. Like it gives a need for like, being in touch with the inner child, which has huge implications like with your love life, but also it gives major implications as to kind of the fact that this need for creativity, this need for an outlet, whether it's yoga, right, which is like probably comes natural to many Taurus risings I know are like they just have this natural like yoga tendency, and it kind of gets a lot out of the way. But for you, like with this raw Mars and Aries, like I don't know, maybe like some fucking kickboxing or some shit, like some maybe like one of those martial arts that like has like a more spiritual background to it. I don't know, Taekwondo. I'm not really sure which one. Karate. I don't know, something like that, or just like joining a gym and just which let's see over here. Yeah, North Node in the 11th house. So like, yeah, we'll talk in our follow-up hopefully that we hopefully have, because I might have like a solution. I don't talk about it publicly, but yeah. But yeah, there's definitely like a need for you to join groups of like-minded people who think like you and who kind of see spirituality in the same way, and or not in the same way, but who have similar views, ways of kind of living life, right? Because when we actually look at your chart, you know, it's a Ferrari. It's a Ferrari, like one of those really, really like the fastest horse, but it's out of control. So, okay, going back to the whole relationship thing. And also, I want to say before that, Jupiter and Gemini in the second house. Once again, just have this. Jupiter and Gemini, Jupiter in the second house is the financial guardian angel. I always say that. Everyone always agrees. They tend to just like have luck and fortune when it comes to money. And it's also very good for self-esteem. So it's gonna, you see how I'm connecting everything. Like this is actually going to be very good for you in that respect, right? Like even though there's like lots of aspects that are difficult, you know, this one will be more positive. And yeah, like self-esteem can expand through, you know, increasing money and possessions. And Jupiter and Gemini, but like you have to watch out for not being too obsessed with that, with the material. And Jupiter and Gemini, they tend to like to talk. So maybe that is kind of like what happens, right? Talk, exchange information, different media, even engaging in small talk can be advantageous. So yeah. Okay, moving forward. I was going to talk about really kind of like see what else I see with the whole love stuff. I mean, yeah. So like ideal partner, Juno is in Leo. So someone in fourth house, someone who's also, so fourth house moon typically creates like a homebody. Someone who also is kind of maybe like there's a mix of that and the Leo, which is like wanting to have fun. So someone who's in touch with their emotions, who can sit and ground you when you go through, you know, the moon square Pluto kind of instability of the emotions, which can be very up and down, and not judge, but then also someone who's very in touch with their inner child and creativity, right? So, because that's what your moon needs. Your moon needs to have fun, to feel like a kid, right? I love Leo moons. No matter how old they are, they still have this feeling of youthfulness. My mom's a Leo moon, but they have to watch out for talking about themselves too much. And yeah, of course, like the Venus gets easier when you understand that whole thing about the self-love and about not judging yourself too high, and that no mate is perfect. I mean, I went through this recently, you know. I mean, she's not gonna watch this, so like, you know, I can talk about it. But like, you know, I broke up with my girlfriend last August. It definitely was like it had to happen, and I'll show the chart while I'm talking. But you know, and she grew a lot in the time we were broken up. We got back together, by the way. But and we're together now. But and she's not here right now. She's back at her home for a few days. Not that that matters at all. But anyways, the whole point of that story is that I dated some other girls that on like in that meantime, like when we were broken up for 8 months or whatever it was, I dated a few girls, mainly one that I really actually dated, like really like was with, and someone that like on the surface, you know, looked absolutely perfect, like, you know, like exactly like kind of like what my, you know, girlfriend isn't, and kind of like, you know, I was curious about, you know, this kind of like a very like kind of like imagine going from like dating one type of person like a Scorpio to a Libra, you know. I mean, does it get much more different? I don't know. It's pretty freaking different energies. And yeah, I mean, I found out was that like even though the Libra girl presented as being like this perfect kind of, I don't know how you want to say it, like even though she presented in a way at the start that made me like really like into her and think that she was the one, like literally, over time, I saw the real her. I'm not saying she's a bad person, but like I realized like how much more compatible and how much more I liked my ex. And it wasn't like we got back together right after. It was just kind of some random synchronicities, and we ended up being in the same city at the same time. And I texted her when I was drunk at a music festival. I told you in public that that's the only times I really like party in that type of way. Or music festivals, it's only like 2 days. But anyways, the whole point is that I've been holding it in. I finally like messaged her, and the vibes are cool. They're different, and yeah, it's not been perfect, but it's been good. It's been solid, you know. And like in life, like that's kind of what I realized is that, you know, you might see people on Instagram, couples, like even me, like when I post with her, like people probably look at us and think like happiest couple ever, like they're so perfect for each other, and like yeah, but we fucking fight. Like it's not perfect. Like there's times they're super tumultuous, you know. I've had to go through so much shadow with that girl. Her Pluto is freaking on my sun, like exact. So it's like, you know, I'm confronting my own shadow, kind of like with what you go through, right, in this particular relationship. So that's kind of my story of like how, you know, despite her imperfections, like, you know, if it works, it works, and you only know if it works if you, in my opinion, if you're able to live with someone and feel at peace. And of course, you know, if you're a solitude type of person, like you're gonna like I am, like, you know, you're gonna need a lot of space. But like I don't really see that. I mean, I definitely see like with the square Mars and Uranus, like how, you know, you just like have to really always be grounded, you know. And that's why your North Node is in Pisces, 11th house, is because I really think I really like yeah, we like in the follow up. I have a feeling you're going to book it. Just remind me keyword group I talked about, a spiritual group I talked about. That's all I'm gonna say. But like it's in groups of groups or friendships of like-minded people who are pushing you towards your North Node, and you're learning from them. And yeah, that's kind of like what it's all about for you. Is like in that context, growing. So yeah, 12th house Mars is difficult, obviously. Like I said, people with that can self-sabotage. They can, especially when it's square Uranus, and it's a loose square in different degree, so it's not like, you know, like the hardest square, but it's still a square, and it's also a square Saturn. So it's like, you know, there can be a tendency to do things impulsively and then regret them, especially as a fire moon. You know, moon in a fire sign can do that so much. So that is extremely important to look at and to acknowledge. And you know, your Mars is also squaring Chiron. So yeah, I would, and your Mars is retrograde. I didn't even realize that until now. Wow. So not only is your Venus retrograde, your Mars retrograde. So karmically, what that means is that there's either like, for both of them, either like you talked too much or you talked too little. You acted too much or you acted too little. With what I'm getting here is that it was the too much. And in this life, you're meant to be way more introspective. And with the Mars and Aries there, let's distract myself. Retrograde, you know, the retrograde can kind of like make that Mars Aries less explosive, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be easier, right? So like, yeah, definitely like Mars retrograde, it's like it directs that inward. So I'm getting this download of like inner anger that has to be expressed, but in like there's a book called Nonviolent Communication. I tell some clients about it. It's a must read. And it basically just explains how to communicate, something we should learn in school, in a way that's constructive, that doesn't like lead to arguments, and it's very important for relationships. But yeah, it's very past oriented, and sometimes with Mars retrograde karmically and Mercury retrograde, you can like put how do I say it, like almost like inflict past life roles on people in your present life in like an unconscious like soul way. But it's also like very spiritual, and 12th house is very spiritual. So Mars in the 12th house, it's like you can literally direct that energy into spirituality, which is your Pisces North Node. 12th house is Pisces, right? So yeah, like there's a need to like focus on like spiritual growth. And like sexually, it's more about like that sex that's like rooted in deep love. That's what's really needed, right? So a lot of times, like from a karma perspective too, it can mean that like your actions are done so in a way to recreate prior lifetime situations. So you might be trying to like find people in the present life who can like symbolize people from your past lives. And acting out like what you weren't able to express in prior lifetimes, or that you expressed too much of, right? Like evening it out. So yeah, and what can happen, there can be like overreactions to different situations. If you have like, you know, a result, like, because like Virgo, Venus can be very analytical and result driven when it comes to love. So when those don't go your way, then there can be like overreactions or coming on too strong, right? So it's kind of like a person like that's, you know, like taking things very slowly is what I would say is very important in love life. And yeah, just like kind of finding that right person who, you know, has all these things I've spoken about, right? Who can sit, who also is on their own healing journey, and is able to kind of sit with some of the more, I guess you could say, darker aspects and not be triggered. So yeah, definitely like a balanced individual. And it's an earth sign. I mean, that's more Capricorn Venus, but like I'd say like Venus and earth signs, sometimes they tend to like date older, or at least more mature. So that's very, very important. But yeah, like Mars in Aries retrograde in the 12th house is the ultimate like you can it's just like very, very explosive, you know. And because it's retrograde, it's inward explosion, and just finding constructive ways to communicate to your parents, to whoever it was, whether it's siblings, you know. For me, it's siblings and parents, or sibling and parents, and just be able to kind of like speak to them, you know. So yeah, because like there's like these outbursts that come out of the blue, and you're like, well, how the fuck did that happen, you know? So yeah, it's tough, and it's very, you know, in Aries, it's very spontaneous and very risk taking. So you have to watch out for like being aggressive, being accident prone. So yeah, definitely someone who can sit with that energy. So yeah, there's some tough energies in your chart. Midheaven, you know, ruled by Uranus in Aquarius. Uranus in the 8th, you know, maybe it's something like in this kind of like occult esoteric world that is you know, linked to your career, linked to your dharma, you know, like what you're meant to do. It might not be your day job, but you know, with your 6th house sun, am I still sharing? No, I'm about to wrap up in a second here. You know, with the 6th house sun, there's definitely a strong duty in this lifetime, a strong duty to humanity. And I think that when you're really like kind of giving into that, you know, a lot gets resolved just kind of magically. Now, I didn't really talk about Neptune, did I? Besides the aspect. But yeah, Neptune in 9th, I mean, that's like just gives someone like a very like devotional attitude towards higher learning. Sometimes there can be that perfection, that Virgo perfectionism in terms of finding the perfect philosophy. So once again, like, you know, making sure like when you're trusting like a guru or a, you know, a teacher, spiritual teacher of any type, that, you know, you're not being like misled, because there's lots of them out there. Also, Mars in 12th house, hidden enemies. So that's another thing that, you know, you might have some hidden enemies, which can be difficult. So like learning about like spiritual protection and all things Pisces, you know, like that falls under Pisces is very, very, very key for you. So yeah, I mean Neptune in the ninth, like it's a good placement. Once again, you have like it's a good placement for Neptune, besides the fact that it squares your sun. It gives someone like a very like deep faith in the divine. Sometimes they can be very religious people or very spiritual people. So yeah, it's a good placement. Very good for like being at one, and very good for your North Node journey. Good for mysticism and having an interest in it. And but usually it makes you want to have a very very unique, different type of spirituality than the one that's prevailing, which I totally resonate with. As a Sagittarius moon, right? So and I have a quote here: "The native's prayers will be heard, and the heavens will aid her. She will attribute this help to the God she believes in, not understanding that she has the power to create reality herself. Neptune with such an aspect will at least consider becoming monks or priests of the religion or spiritual whatever they follow." So yeah, it's all like it is hard aspected, which in this case like can lead, like I said, to like religious / spiritual fraud, being a victim, like the fact that your gates to higher meaning and higher philosophy are wide open. There can be like intrusion, like, so watch out for like any kind of cult. So yeah, it's very, very important, the discernment, and a lot of times people with this like will walk the more lonely path of spirituality, right? Like for example, like the Hare Krishna group, like that's like a perfect like kind of thing of like, you know, I mean, I'm not dissing them, I don't know that much about them, but like I've heard some things, you know. So yeah, what else with that one? Once again, like there's so much about like legal stuff and like debt and just like, you know, even higher education is ninth house. So there can be like confusion around that. It can be like a very like chaotic and kind of different, maybe more spiritual like type of education. And yeah, it's important like to have someone that keeps track of anything like anything legal. Like you have to watch out for that, being screwed over like in a legal way. Like if you're like operating in business, like watch out for like being careless in your dealings. Like for example, like if you were like a writer and you wrote like this amazing book, but then your rights were stolen because you didn't do like, you know, the copywriting work to really like make sure that it's your work, right? So yeah, what else? So yeah, it's like it's about like not like everything is within you. You know, you don't have like it's like sometimes people with this like they want to rely so much on like that spiritual teacher, that person telling them what to do, but it's all about finding that within themselves. Like miracles don't just come from nowhere. You're the one that has to like really create your own reality, your own dream reality. So yeah. Okay, now I want to check one more thing. Then Vertex and Sag in the 8th. I mean, that's like a cherry on top. You'll come off in relationships with someone who's very expansive, very, very open-minded, very like looking for truth. And you know, your doorway to higher awareness is through that, you know, that letting go and that surrender, that death, rebirth, transformation, and also those, you know, more intense Plutonian relationships. That's kind of how you get to that next level. So yeah, we can talk more about this if you book the follow-up. Let me know, DM me at Jesse Innocent Astro or at Jesse. Actually, DM me at Jesse Innocent Astro Remix. That's my backup account. I don't know. I think you follow me. I'm pretty sure. I'm like pretty positive you do. I just forget everything. But yeah, very interesting chart. Let me just check something. Yeah, so yeah, definitely some high spiritual vibes in this one. All right, that's it. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope to hear back from you. And well, I will hear back from you, but hopefully, I hope to talk to you. All right, ciao, ciao, ciao. Bye, bye, bye.